his lane. The Tesla's door was sliced open like a can opener by the truck's lug nuts. Nobody was hurt, but it took 15,000 Canadian dollars, about 12,000 US dollars, and 2.5 months to get his Tesla repaired. He says the Tesla cam footage was very helpful for his insurance claim. Al was driving his Model 3 on the Autobahn in Germany. The cars in front of him suddenly ground to a halt before someone plowed into him. Autopilot applied the brakes and the seatbelt tensioner was triggered right before the impact. Al says the Tesla automatically placed an emergency call to rescue workers immediately after the accident. Since there were no injuries, the police didn't respond. Instead, Al and the other drivers secured the scene of the accident and wrote up the accident report. Al filed an insurance claim and the total repair cost for his Tesla was around 15,000 US dollars. Gavin was driving his Model Y in Purcellville, Virginia, when all of a sudden a minivan pulled out in front of him. Autopilot engaged the brakes and Gavin was able to swerve around the rogue minivan. We get a lot of comments telling us that we show lots of Honda bumps, but we never show any bad Tesla drivers. Well, the tables have now turned. This video comes from Robert, who drives a Honda Civic and is rocking a Garmin dash cam. According to him, this video is proof that not all Honda bumps are intentional. While he was making a left turn, a Tesla driver decided to drift into his lane, causing Robert to bump into it. He was really surprised that the Tesla hadn't automatically tried to avoid the accident. Robert wasn't able to go into the rightmost lane because there was already another car in that lane, forcing him to stay in the middle lane. Both Robert and the Tesla driver pulled over, and he made an insurance claim then and there. The Tesla driver's insurance determined that she was at fault, and they covered the cost of repairs to Robert's car, which cost 2,100 US dollars. Robert wanted us to ask the Wham Bam viewers a question. Should this be considered a Honda bump or a Tesla bump? Leave your vote in the comments. Christian was pulling out of a gas station in Mesa, Arizona when an SUV pulled into traffic without looking and ran right into a truck. Christian contacted the police and offered them the Tesla cam video. Antonino was driving his Model 3 in Italy when a car in front of him backed up, causing an unusual rear-end collision. Antonino says it's not clear to him if this was done on purpose, but what ensued was a rather Italian road rage. There were a lot of hand gestures before the other driver inspected the front of his car for damage, and predictably didn't find any. It would have been pretty strange if he had. They then got back into their cars before driving off. Here's another Italian video from Antonino. He was driving on the highway when he approached a car that was backing up after missing their exit. I've got to say, this is one of the stupidest things you could do while driving. Please, don't ever do this. Just take the next exit instead of risking the lives of others just to save yourself a few minutes. Josh had parked his Model 3 outside of a store in Goldsboro, North Carolina. When he came back to his car, he found a large dent in his door, but there wasn't any car parked next to him. When he reviewed the Sentry Mode footage, he found this video. A woman had parked a Honda next to his Tesla, and when she wasn't paying attention, the wind had grabbed her door and slammed it into the Model 3. Accidents happen. We understand that, and so does Josh. But what she did next was definitely not cool. She hopped back in her car and tried to sneak away. She drove her car a ways away before parking again, probably hoping Josh wouldn't associate her with the fresh dent. But Sentry Mode had already caught her. Josh confronted her before filing an insurance report. It turned out that she was uninsured, and she had to pay out of her own pocket to repair the dent and to have the custom wrap reapplied to the door. The final repair cost came in at $600 US. Ben was driving in North Carolina when the driver of another car started tailgating him before trying to pass in a no-pass area over solid yellow lines. He couldn't manage to pass Ben, and he couldn't get back over in time thanks to an oncoming car, resulting in him hitting the back of Ben's Tesla. The other driver fled the scene, but his license plate number was visible in the Tesla Cam video, allowing a North Carolina state trooper to retrieve his insurance information and issue him a citation. The trooper said he'd be charged with fleeing the scene, reckless driving, running a red light, and driving with a suspended license. Brandon was driving his Model 3 in Chesterfield, Virginia, when a small car merged onto the highway and right into a semi-truck. Thankfully, it looks like nobody was hurt, but Brandon contacted local law enforcement and they forwarded his contact info to the state police just in case they needed his Tesla Cam video. Bruce was driving his Model 3 in Fremantle, Western Australia, when he witnessed something we've never seen on this channel before. As he approached a roundabout, a guy riding a skateboard entered the road, holding a child in his hands. The guy swerved back and forth down the hill in front of Bruce, who says it was nerve-wracking to watch as he passed between the cars. At the bottom of the hill, there was a red light with heavy cross traffic, and the guy jumped off just in time. Luckily, there were no injuries, but what do you think about this little stunt? Is this funny or just plain reckless? Frank was leaving a public parking lot located on the shore in Marseille, France. As he paid for his parking at the toll gate, the barriers opened for him to exit. Apparently, the driver behind him didn't want to pay the parking fee, so he tried to avoid the toll by sneaking through the gate behind Frank's Tesla. Unfortunately, he wasn't very smooth about it. He hit Frank twice in the process. Frank stopped immediately to inspect the damage. The other driver completely denied that anything had happened and even suggested that Frank might just be reacting to driving over the speed bumps. Frank told him he had footage of the accident, but the guy still kept denying that a collision had occurred. Luckily, there was no damage to Frank's Tesla, but while he was inspecting it, the other driver started honking at him, trying to get him to move. We can't help but hope the barrier came down and landed on his roof. That would definitely be some well-deserved karma. Jake was driving behind an irate drunk driver in Las Vegas, Nevada, who managed to slam into a stopped pickup truck. Jake stuck around to give the police his Tesla Cam video, even though it took about an hour for them to show up. He also sent the video to the owners of the truck that the Lexus had crashed into. The woman driving the Lexus was arrested for suspected DUI. Trevor was giving his son a ride to work when a Honda came drifting into his lane. Trevor says an accident was avoided thanks in part to his quick reflexes, but mostly thanks to the Tesla's good handling. Garrett was approaching a red light on Matilda Avenue in Sunnyvale, California on his way to work. Another car was already stopped in another lane when the driver of the car behind them wasn't paying attention and rear-ended the stopped car. Garrett says it was a pretty big smack. Greg was out having drinks with a friend in Oakland, California, when he suddenly received a notification on his Tesla app that Sentry Mode had been activated. When he came back to his car, he noticed a pile of glass around his driver's side rear window along with this Sentry Mode video. A car pulled up and a guy jumped out before looking into the back seat of Greg's Tesla. We assume he must have been looking for a much-needed belt to hold up his pants. He smashed the window, but evidently he didn't find anything he wanted, and they took off seconds later. Greg immediately filed an insurance claim and made a police report online, but he isn't hopeful that anything will come of it. Thieves who target Teslas will break the quarter glass before pulling the handle that folds down the back seat. This lets them see if you have anything valuable in your trunk. One tip is to leave your back seat folded down so a thief can see there's nothing in your trunk. You might think that simply not leaving valuables in your trunk would do the trick, but ultimately, a thief would still have to smash your window to find that out. This next video proves exactly that. Sam had late morning plans to meet someone for coffee at the Stonestown Galleria in San Francisco, California. The person Sam was meeting had some unexpected luggage, which they put in the trunk of Sam's Model 3. About 10 minutes into getting coffee, he heard a loud honking sound, and they said, "Is that your car?" Sam ran out to check and found his side window broken. Fortunately, the would-be thieves had been spooked by the alarm and didn't manage to steal anything. The Sentry Mode footage revealed a man looking into cars while the driver of a white Nissan Altima backed him up. Sam says this is incredibly common in the San Francisco Bay Area. At this point, you can't expect to be able to leave items in your car at popular tourist spots or at any unguarded parking lots in the city and have them still be there when you come back. The footage has been turned into the SFPD, who were very professional and helpful. The police said a lot of Tesla drivers don't bring them their Sentry Mode videos. Hey, Tesla owners, hook up your Tesla cam. We put a link to our favorite SSD, Simplicity. Eventually, they stopped selling the drop lock due to high production cost and low demand during the pandemic. We think this product needs to be brought back to market. Leave a comment below and let Tesla Raj and Tesla DIY know that we want them to start selling the drop lock again.